You know how I feel, but I'm not going to say a word, but I will say one thing right now. How about them Cowboys?
All right, Jay. It's your time to shine.
I'm not exaggerating when I say this, and I'm not just a Homer Cowboys fan. This top to bottom, outside of coaching staff, might possibly be the best team in football.
They're really damn good, man. They are really
Like-
I was like, not gonna lie, I was skeptical going into my roster review. Like I do these pages of stats for every team and like look through their depth, top to bottom, everything I can find. And like I was skeptical before I threw it all together. And after I threw it all together, I texted Jay and I said, Cowboys got a squad, man. This team is good.
The fourth string corner had 5 picks last year as a rookie. Malik Hooker is one of the better old veterans in the league, still playing at a top level. He's also a backup on that defense. Jordan Lewis, who's consistently started for the Cowboys for the past 5 years, is now the third corner on the team. You have DeMarvion Overshown, who looked pretty good at Texas, backing up Jabril Cox at linebacker. You have Malik Jefferson, who's also played very well, backing up at linebacker. Dorrance Armstrong, Neville Gallimore, Jonathan Hankins, Sam Williams, Dante Fowler Jr. are all rotation guys behind DeMarcus Lawrence, Mazi Smith, Osa Odighizuwa, and Micah Parsons. This defense is probably the most stacked defense in the NFL. Like, depth everywhere. Like, they're literally their second team defense is probably top 25 at worst.
Yeah, I mean, what would that look like? Like at corner, you'd have
Jonathan Hankins. You'd have 2 guys that had 8 picks combined last year.
Yeah, so like DaRon Bland, Jordan Lewis, Israel Mukuamu, and Jaron Kearse. That's your secondary. Like that's or Malik Hooker. Hooker actually he played more snaps than Kearse last year.
Yeah, Kearse is technically listed ahead of him right now, but I mean, a lot of it's going to be rotation, and I mean
they're just
you look at corners. Stephon Gilmore, Trevon Diggs just signing a monster deal, and then probably the best O-line we've had in Dallas since 2014. With if Tyron Smith can stay healthy, which I mean, that hasn't happened in a while, but Tyron Smith, Tyler Biadasz, Zach Martin, and Terrence Steele. I mean, this is kind of where I get worried because there's not a whole lot of depth on O-line.
Yeah, that's my one question.
The starters are very, very solid.
Interior depth is the only question.
So got to stay healthy.
Because, but you can slide Tyler Smith out to either tackle spot, I believe, if injury happens there. But then it's just tackle. Like you don't have anyone to replace him. You know, it's that interior that really worries me. That's the only spot.
I mean, Alec Lindstrom can maybe plug and play, but
yeah,
I mean, it's not ideal. But then you look at the tight end position. We're 3 deep at tight end. Jake Ferguson and Peyton Hendershot were both very, very good last year for the Cowboys. And then you go draft Luke Schumacher, who's also very, very talented. So, like, ton of depth at tight end position. And then you go to wide receiver. CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, and Michael Gallup might be the best 1, 2, 3 in the NFL outside of Cincy. But I would say healthy Michael Gallup is quite a bit better than a Tyler Boyd. And then Brandon Cooks and T. Higgins, I'd probably give a slight edge to T. Higgins, but it's not very big. And then Jamar Chase is a top 3 receiver compared to CeeDee Lamb being a top 8 receiver.
I think to anyone out there who's like raising an eyebrow at that, like the Brandon Cooks versus T. Higgins, I think that the edge for T. Higgins is mostly based on age. And which is where you're talking about one season is a little different than you're talking about like into the future. Like Brandon Cooks for this season right now,
how old is T. Higgins?
Might be better than at 25.
25? Yeah, Brandon Cooks 29. I was thinking T. Higgins is older than that. But,
God,
yeah, I
he's only
mean,
29. It feels like he's been in the league for a decade.
been traded probably for the most first-round picks out of anybody in NFL history.
Probably.
But, yeah, Brandon Cooks, I mean, he's just consistently 1,000 yards, 85 catches, and 8 touchdowns every year.
Yeah. Well, except last year.
And
he missed some time last year.
And he was on the Texans.
Yeah. I mean, he was pacing 1,000 yards.
Yeah. And was he on the Rams Super Bowl team, or did he leave the year before?
He left the year before.
So Cooper Kupp was hurt the year he was there, where they got Stafford.
Wait.
Did they win the Super Bowl the year Stafford got there?
First year there. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this is the best offense he's ever been on, bar none.
Probably. I mean, he was on the Saints. He was drafted by the Saints.
Yeah, but I don't know. I still think this offense is better than those later Drew Brees years.
I don't know, because that was, what was that, 2017, 2016? I mean, that was
noodle arm Drew Brees time.
I don't know. I think like 2018 is when that started.
Yeah, maybe. I'm gonna try to see if I can go. Anyway, still, I mean, one of the best offenses ever played on.
Yeah, the point stands.
And definitely the best complement of talent around him that he's ever had. Even if you want to say Drew Brees, give Drew Brees the edge over Dak. I mean, he's never played with a better 1 and 3
supporting
than
cast,
Lamb and Gallup. Yeah, but I mean, one thing that scares shit out of me about this team is Mike McCarthy is an absolute moron. And the offensive coordinator is a very, very questionable hire. But Dan Quinn with this defense, I mean, if nobody can score on us, I guess it doesn't matter how bad the offense is. But I don't see the offense being bad. Like this team's almost Mike McCarthy proof. And also, everybody that likes to shit on Mike McCarthy, I don't love the guy by any means. But him and Sean Payton are basically identical in coaching career. And everybody likes to act like Sean Payton's like God's greatest gift. And when everybody was saying that Cowboys were going to trade for Sean Payton, and I'm like, you're getting rid of Mike McCarthy for Mike McCarthy. They both won 1 Super Bowl with Hall of Fame quarterbacks and were consistently good year in and year out and always seemed to flounder at the end. So,
yeah, I don't know. I think Sean Payton is quite a bit better than McCarthy, but you have a good argument. You have a really good argument.
Their records is nearly identical.
You make a really strong argument. I'm agreeing. You do. But I think that Payton just gets more out of less typically. And I think McCarthy tends to get less out of him.
How much worse was Drew Brees than Aaron Rodgers? Because I would argue the Saints had much better roster for their tenure the same time McCarthy was at Green Bay. Because outside of 2 or 3 years at Green Bay, that roster is pretty trash.
He had a better roster because he developed players who really were mid and late round picks. That's my point. That I think he gets more. So he develops players very.
You're giving
and builds his offense around those players very well.
Or does the GM just draft well?
Well, now we're talking chicken or egg. So I mean, there's no right answer here. I mean, it can go either way. But I personally think that Sean Payton has a lot to do with the process that the Saints had.
Maybe. But anyway, I mean, that's neither here nor there. I mean, that was more of a dig at Sean Payton since he likes to talk shit on everybody in the league. So
hey, I love it, man. It's fun. It's fun.
I love it too. But I figured out I'll figure out though a jab back at him. I mean, not like the Jets are my team by any means, but I'm like, who are you to talk? I mean,
Sean Payton's going to show up at your doorstep tonight.
Sean Payton is like the absolute definition of like overperforming and then under delivering when it matters. Like year in, year out, they're better than everybody thinks. They go on like they would have streaks, they would have runs, they would be hot, and then just lay an egg in the first round of the playoffs, second round of the playoffs.
Yeah. Hey, it's hard to beat Kirk Cousins.
Unless you're Daniel Jones.
That's true. That's very true. Now, one thing so anyone who follows the stuff I put out there knows that I am very excited about Mazi Smith.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved this kid in the draft. And I noticed going through all this division stuff today, there are 2 rookie centers starting in this division and a rookie guard on the other team. That's a lot of rookies Mazi Smith is going to go against. And Mazi Smith is a rookie himself, so maybe I'm setting the bar too high. But I think Mazi Smith is going to be fun going up against some rookie centers and rookie guards.
Oh, yeah. And especially that Dan Quinn defense. I mean, he's going to have Chandler Parsons. Imagine him out there. No, he's going to have Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Mazi Smith probably all playing every position on the defensive line.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be filthy. I told you back in like March, I was like, you know who the Cowboys need to draft? Mazi Smith. Because having that guy who changes the math on the line of scrimmage for you, that he can stop the run and he's still a threat to be a pass rusher, but you don't need to commit more resources to stopping the run because he can fill 2 gaps. Yeah. Like that strength is going to add to oh man, the Cowboys for like a decade have neglected mass up the middle, and it has driven me crazy. And they finally did it. They finally added mass up the middle, and I'm excited for it. And I don't even like the Cowboys, but I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that interior D-line with Mazi Smith, Osa Odighizuwa, Jonathan Hankins, and Neville Gallimore. It's a lot of beef up front. And that's a hell of a rotation.
Well, I mean, even
I don't know how much you watched Neville Gallimore.
Are lighter guy. They're more like 3 techs, but Hankins and Mazi, like, oof, that's a mess.
I mean, Gallimore is every bit of like 315, 320 probably.
Yeah, I guess so. Actually, I to take a page from
Hankins,
our guest, I'm
Hankins
not familiar with his game. Oh, Hankins is a big boy. Odighizuwa is light.
Yeah,
like he is.
Oh yeah, but he's a wrestler.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He's a wrestler. He's got good leverage. Yeah, Odighizuwa is listed on the depth chart at 280, and then Neville Gallimore is listed at 315.
Yeah,
and Jonathan Hankins is listed at 320, and I don't know if that's true.
He must have dropped some pounds if that's true, and even then, I doubt it. So, how underrated is DeMarcus Lawrence?
Probably the most underrated pure edge in the league, because I wouldn't even put he's not an elite, or he's a pretty elite edge rusher, I guess, but I mean his run stopping ability is up there with anybody.
Yeah, and
he can go and get 10 sacks if you need him to. I mean, outside of like the back-to-back years of franchising and like really deciding what we're going to do with this guy, and then a couple injuries, like he's been one of the more consistent, solid pieces on this defense for nearly a decade now. Ever since Dan Quinn got there, he's really just thrived, especially in the run defense, and then having Micah Parsons opposite of him now. I mean, you look at the 2 bookends on the defensive line with Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, accompanied by 2 guys like Stephon Gilmore and
Trayvon
Diggs. Yeah. I almost called him Stephon Diggs. I'm like, nah, that's not it. But yeah, it's insane, dude. And this is probably the most nervous I've ever been going into a season, because I'm being like 100% unbiased when I say like they definitely have the best defensive talent in the league, and might have the best top to bottom roster in the league. I just know I'm gonna be vastly disappointed somehow.
Yeah, I mean this roster, this might be the best roster top to bottom in the NFC. If not best, it's top 2, top 3. I mean, they're good. Even if you're not a Dak Prescott believer, CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, Tony Pollard.
Dak doesn't have to be great. Dak has
Yeah.
to be Dak for this team to be good. And I mean, Dak being Dak isn't that bad. I mean, it's Josh Allen.
If you
And
put
everybody
Kirk
seems to act
Cousins
like
on this
Josh-
roster, how would you feel? You know, like, I mean, not to say Dak is Kirk Cousins, but it's like I feel like that's like his bottom line. You know, he should be better, but he can just be Kirk Cousins.
If you were to put Josh Allen on this roster, how would you feel?
Oh, amazing.
So then that's how you should feel.
No, I'm not there yet.
Because Josh
I'm not
Allen is
there.
Dak Prescott.
I'm just not there.
He is. Can you take over for a second?
Yeah. So the Cowboys, like we talked a little bit about depth here. Like, let's really dig into this cornerback depth. Like Trayvon Diggs and Stephon Gilmore on the outside. Gilmore last year, sure, he's older now. You know, he's not the guy he was. But right now with the Cowboys, he's been asked to be cornerback 2, guy who still played 80% of the snaps last year and 2 interceptions. And I'm looking at his stats. It's green across, 0.98 yards per coverage snap. That was one of the better in the league. Like, this guy can still play. And even if he does take a step back, he's not even asked to be cornerback 1 here in this system, especially in Dan Quinn's defense, which is probably going to be more cover 3 heavy. You're probably not asking this guy to be a man cover corner. You're asking him to play a deep third, which at a higher age, you're probably more able to do. And then behind him and playing in the slot, you got DaRon Bland, guy who had 5 interceptions last year as a rookie. Like, some of his advanced stats aren't great, but again, he's a rookie. He was a rookie cornerback last year. He should get better, and he was an above average player already. I mean, and then Jordan Lewis is a guy behind them who has starting experience. Kelvin Joseph has played some snaps, has had a hard time staying out of trouble, though, as well.
Kelvin Joseph won't probably see the field much.
No, but he's there. I'm talking depth. Like,
no.
And Israel,
I would say you'd be looking more Nashawn Wright than Kelvin Joseph.
Question for you. I realized that this might be the case while looking up all the information I could on the Cowboys. Is Israel Mukuamu a safety now?
Yes.
Okay.
Nickel safety, plug and play DB. Like,
because I mean, he was I pulled up his stats, and they were really good at cornerback. Like, on very limited snaps, he only played 16% of the snaps last year, but they were really nice. And then I heard that he might have been a safety, and it's like, okay, well, that kind of changed it. His numbers were still good. But, his numbers were actually still really good for safety, but it changes in my head a little that, putting it up at corner on 16% of the snaps versus at safety on 16% of the snaps are different things because safety is a little more difficult to, what is your, can we really charge this to you or not? But, I loved this dude in the draft. He is a pterodactyl. He has, a 7-foot wingspan, and it's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, he's 6'5" at DB.
Yeah.
He's, most of the time, he would be used in nickel situations where kind of playing safety, but more just guarding tight ends.
Okay, kind of that's probably not a star position in Saban's defense, is it?
Yeah, kind of like a hybrid linebacker type guy who can cover, who can tackle, who can run.
Is he almost playing a deep middle in a Tampa 2 kind of thing?
No, I would say more of a middle or a inside third, a outside linebacker almost.
Okay, interesting. So he's
but
just kind
in
of
coverage
a robber,
situations.
like cover 3 robber kind of role.
Yeah,
that's
basically.
Probably because Dan Quinn's at cover 3 school. But
yeah,
man, I mean this defense is just filthy.
It really is, and
I don't know what to do with it. It's just they're really damn good. Don't have a
then you look at the division.
Linebacker, but who does linebackers?
And I mean even at linebacker, Leighton Vander Esch played incredibly well last year. Definitely came back into his own. Damon Clark's not bad. And then you look at Jabril Cox, who second or third round pick a couple years ago. Fourth, starting to come to his own. He's getting better every year. I think he's going into year 3 now.
He didn't really play much last year, but
then DeMarvion Overshown, who played more of a pass rushing linebacker in college, but is supposed to play more of a actual off the ball linebacker on this
Basically,
Dallas team.
he's just a new toy for Dan Quinn, like
Yeah.
overshown. Like he's versatile and he's an athlete. Like I don't know how they're going to use him, but they're going to find a way to use him.
Yeah, and I mean we're definitely investing in this defense too. I mean, you look at how talented the offense is, then you look at the draft, and it's like Mazi Smith, Schumacher, Overshown, and an edge in Fehoko. So it's like,
yeah. And I mean, I like the tackle they got in Nassim Richards too. And what is that, the 5th round, something like that?
yeah. And then I mean, I don't hate Jalen Brooks. I don't like the Deuce Vaughn pick. I would have rather seen a Chase Brown or somebody of that nature around that time. But I mean,
but they did it for
cool
the gram.
story and all. Yeah, could have probably waited. It might have been undrafted, honestly. But I mean, look, the dude's 5'5", 160 pounds. Like, I don't know how. Like, if you can't touch him, you can't tackle him, I guess. But I mean, he's a toy at most. And then you look at that running back room with Tony Pollard, Malik Davis. We don't really know what we have with him. Then Rojo, who's very, very old at this point. Or I feel like he's old. Is he old? No, he's only 25. That's
old.
crazy.
Yeah,
he's only 25. That's
just kind of he fell out of favor in Tampa and then just kind of fell off the face of the earth. So I mean, who knows what you have?
That makes me feel a little bit better that he's only 25. But I'm really hoping that we can figure out a way to sign Zeke or even maybe go get a Leonard Fournette or something like that. Because depth at running back and O-line are really my two biggest causes for concern here. But I mean, outside of that, like
very thin at wide receiver depth. But when you got three deep like this, I don't worry too much about it. Like, because if your number one goes down, you still have 2-3 who can kind of step into 1-2. And it's like
yeah, Jalen Tolbert was a pretty high pick last year. And then Kevontae Turpin's slowly but surely started to play a little bit better. And then Simon Fehoko, who a lot of people in Dallas had a lot of hope for a while, really hasn't developed into anything.
He can't.
But I mean, you're
just very. He lacks agility. Like his 40 looks nice and like his highlights are cool, but he can't break very well on routes. At least in the combine, I remember looking at him. And it was like, oh well, that's why he's going to fall in the draft. He doesn't turn very well.
Yeah, I was honestly thinking to myself when Joe Burrow went down, if he had a significant injury where he was out for a while, if it'd be worth trading for a T. Higgins on a basically a rental deal because he'll be a free agent at the end of the year. And I would assume if Burrow were to miss the season, they would move him immediately.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to give a first plus.
Yeah, but if you sign him long term, I mean, you still got the CD contract coming up though. Yeah. But I mean, if CD was locked in, and I think Brandon Cooks did he sign an extension? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Yeah, I was just the thought of T. Higgins.
You said
all this would be incredible.
You said that you really like Jake Ferguson and Peyton Hendershot, and I know very little about them other than they combined for 311 yards last year. What do you like about them?
They both block well, and they both made a bunch of like big time catches. They most of the time when they were throwing the ball, Dalton Schultz was getting it, but they both just showed up in big moments throughout the entire year. Like, I honestly am shocked that they had 311 yards combined because if you would have asked me to guess,
like they definitely,
how many touchdowns?
4 combined, so they did work when they got chances.
But yeah, if you would have asked me what their combined yards were last year, I would have said 600 plus.
Yeah, and I mean Hendershot. He had a first down on over 70% of his catches. Like, so it was.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like every time either one of them caught the ball, it was in a big time moment.
And Ferguson had 8 yards after the catch per reception. So, like, there was definitely some stuff to like.
Barry Alvarez's grandson.
And I love.
You got to mention that every time you say Jake Ferguson.
Alvarez. All right, Jake
Yeah.
Ferguson, Barry Alvarez's grandson. Ooh,
Yeah.
tongue-tied there. And I loved Luke Schoonmaker in the draft. I think he's dealing with some injuries coming out of college, and it's kind of delayed him early going in camp here. So who knows when he'll actually, if he's going to take on that starting role this year, especially as a rookie tight end. Like rookie tight ends are notoriously slow starters. But I mean,
I don't expect to see much out of him, but I'm excited to see Dalton Schultz gone because I felt like a lot of his targets were kind of forced. So I'm excited to see what he does in that Houston offense for sure. But we didn't need him.
Yeah, I think
and
he's fine.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what these guys can do. And I don't know if they're going to play rotation or if one of them's going to get the majority of snaps. Haven't really heard, but yeah, I mean, I think it's very solid. Two guys for you at the tight end position with three really good wide receivers, and they both block well too.
Yeah,
so.
when you got that good of wide, like look at Cincy, when you got that good of wide receivers, you can just sign Hayden Hurst and be like, that's our tight end. Or CJ Uzoma can have a career year that gets him paid a big contract by the Jets. Like that. That's what happens when you have that good of receivers. Your tight end, like required level of talent becomes lower because the defense is gonna have to sag off of somebody, and they're probably gonna sag off the tight end.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at this team, some of the like off-season acquisitions, like I don't feel like Cowboys get enough credit for going out and getting Brandon Cooks. Like we talked about him a little bit earlier, but outside of Mike Evans,
it's funny you say that because I forgot to put him in the additions column here.
Oh, did you? It's blurry. I can't read it. But yeah, I mean, he outside of Mike Evans, he's probably been one of the more models of consistency at the wide receiver position in the NFL. And then I felt like when they signed Stephon Gilmore, like nobody talked about it.
I think that's just
player of the year 2 years ago.
How old is he now?
29.
Yeah, so 20, like approaching 30 is when the corners.
32. He's old.
Fall off. Yeah, so he's up there. But
he won the. It's like I was talking about 30.
That's what I was talking about when he stepped away. It's like he's going to be playing in a cover 3 scheme that doesn't need to blitz a lot, so they're not going to be leaving him on island and man coverage that often. He's playing a deep third. I kind of like the situation for Gilmore, even if he's losing a step. It's like Pat Pete.
Yeah, and then when you look at it in like totality, when you look at the talent around him too, it's playing that either deep 3 or even a man zone scheme. It's like that's basically all.
Quinn,
what's the word I'm looking for? When you don't need to be an athlete, basically.
Instinct.
Not instinct, but that whenever you practice something a lot, what word am I looking for?
Muscle memory.
Basically, yeah, let's call it that. It's not the word, but technique. There we go. Technique gets you a long way in a defense like that, to where if you hone your craft and have great technique, like you don't have to be the best athlete if you're smart and you know how to play the position. Is kind of what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I got you. You want to jump to the schedule?
Yeah, we can jump to the schedule here. So starting out with the New York Giants, then the New York Jets, Arizona Cardinals, New England Patriots. I think this is a 3-1 start for the Cowboys. I don't know. I think the loss is either at Giants or Jets the first 2 weeks, but I think they take care of business at Arizona and then New England as well. Arizona without Kyler Murray, probably one of the worst teams in the NFL, if we're being honest. So that might be the loss. They might win at Giants and Jets and lose at Arizona and beat New England, if we're being honest. But I think it's 3-1 start for the boys here.
I'll give them the Giants. Going to call the Jets toss-up. Give them Arizona. I'll give them New England. 3-1.
Yeah. Then we'll do San Francisco, LA, by LA Rams, Philly. I don't think we beat San Francisco. We never beat San Francisco, so I'll say San Francisco's a loss. I think we beat the Chargers. We handled them pretty well last year, and we got better, and I don't think they got better. So give me the Chargers win. I'll give me the Rams win, and if Dak's healthy, we beat Philly because Dak doesn't lose to Philly.
Yeah, I'm not giving them San Fran because it's in San Fran. I'd call it a toss-up in Dallas, but I just think tough place to play, tough team.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give them a toss-up against the Los Angeles Superchargers, win against the Rams, toss-up at Philly.
Yeah. If Dak starts, we're beating Philly. Dak doesn't lose to Philly.
Okay.
I think he's lost to Philly one time his entire career.
I'll take your word for it.
I could be wrong about that. I just feel like that's true.
Yeah. And then next here, we got the New York Football Giants, and they're heading to Carolina. And then Thursday Night Football against Washington, Thursday Night Football against Seattle. To
me, this is the scariest part of the schedule. You have 4 teams that are all extremely frisky. Talented teams that you're probably better than, but this is like the dog days of the schedule here, in my opinion. Because I feel like when you're a team as talented as the Cowboys, this is a stretch where you're going to be the better team in all 4 games, but all 4 of them can beat you if you don't show up.
I'm going to give them the first 2.
We should go 4-0.
Give them Panthers. And I'm calling Washington, Seattle toss-ups. They'll win 1, lose 1.
Yeah. I mean, it should be 4-0, but...
Yeah. But it's the NFL. 4-0 is not.
Yeah, it is the NFL. So, but after that, we have Philly, Buffalo, Miami, Detroit, Washington. And that Philly, Buffalo, Miami, Detroit might be the hardest 4-game stretch anybody has in the league all year.
I'm giving them...
I'll give them
Philly.
I'm
giving Philly.
I'm not picking which ones. I'm saying that's 2-2 with we'll give them a win at Washington at the end of the year, so I'll say 3-2 to finish it out. I could see them beating Philly, beating Buffalo, losing to Miami and Detroit. I could see them losing, winning, losing, winning, losing. Like
I haven't beaten Philly, Detroit, and Washington.
Yeah. Losing to Buffalo, Miami.
Yep.
Yep. I'm kind of right there with you. I think very, very tough schedule. Somehow this is only the 15th strength of schedule in the league. I think the NFC Beast is getting quite disrespected. Giants have a really good roster. Philly's roster supposedly is great. And then I think Washington's very underrated. So I think this strength of schedule at the end of the year is going to be a lot higher than 15.
Yeah, this is based on Vegas odds for other teams.
Yeah,
so,
no.
I got them at 11.5 wins. I think 9.5 is just flat out wrong.
Yeah.
I'm taking them to win the division, and I'm sprinkling NFC champs.
Yeah, I'll sprinkle Super Bowl. I do it every year anyway. So
yeah.
This might be the first year I actually feel confident in it, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think
as confident as you can be.
I really think you should. This is the best Cowboys roster I've seen with Dak Prescott.
Yeah, it's the best Cowboys roster since 2014, bar none. And 2014 didn't have half the defense this has.
Yeah, I mean it's just.
But this team doesn't have Tony Romo.
It does not.
It is what it is.
He works for CBS now.
Is Mike McCarthy better than Jason Garrett though?
Yeah, he is.
Okay, got a little bit of edge there. So let's just hope that Tony Pollard doesn't fumble in the late fourth quarter against Green Bay and give the game away. And then everybody can talk about the Des catch for the rest of forever when DeMarco Murray lost the game.
Forever. We're still talking about it.